Welcome to another edition of the AfterBuzz. How you doing? Brandon Coates, your host here, minus producer Dave. So, going to be an interesting show today because I need to operate everything on a computer that is about 5-6 feet away from me, and I can't see the text. But we're going to wing it. We're going to see what we can do here. We got a lot of good, fun stuff that we're going to get to today. Please ignore the fact that I'm looking over here right now, just because I'm trying to figure everything out. But anyway. As always, well, actually not as always, this is the second week we're over here on Facebook. So if you would like, you're more than welcome to jump into the old Facebook chat there. If you have any questions, comments that you would like to be made here on the AfterBuzz, by all means, hit it up. If you're watching this on a replay over on YouTube, we have moved it over to Facebook Live Wednesdays, 10:30 Mountain Time, 11:30 Central Time on the Buzz Adams Morning Show Facebook page. That's when we're doing this live. So if you're catching this on a replay, make sure that you're tuning in at that time on Facebook if you want to get involved with the chat and ask questions or make comments on all the different topics that we're going to be covering. Also got to plug Rockstar 101. That's the podcast that I do with Shim. He is the former lead singer of Sick Puppies, now solo artist. And we talk about a whole bunch of different topics. We fielded a question in this past week's episode that had to do with the Sick Puppies album Tripolar. Somebody had asked why that album was called Tripolar. And Shim gets into a really interesting story about how that album's title came about and how some of the other albums from the band were created as well. And Larry says, damn, this guy's actually kind of old. No, I'm very old, man. You can definitely tell here with the white beard rocking and everything like that. It's funny because my wife, a picture from, I think 2 years ago popped up on Facebook. And it was when we were visiting Houston. And she even sent me the picture that said, oh my God, you look so young. And I tried to make the point, look what you've done to me. In the 3 years we've been together, look how old I've become. But anyway, so some of the topics that we're covering today, we'll talk about Pirates of the Caribbean over in Shanghai. I climbed Mount Cristo Rey, Concordia Cemetery. We did a ghost tour over the weekend, and we're going to learn about Jack Earle, the world's tallest man. But kicking things off on this AfterBuzz, I still have not picked an NHL team. I don't know why this is so stinking difficult. And if you're a new viewer to the AfterBuzz, here's what I'm dealing with. When it comes to football, baseball, basketball, I've got my teams already. Football, I'm a New England Patriots fan. If you're talking about college, it's the Oregon Ducks. Baseball, Minnesota Twins. And for basketball, it's the Portland Trail Blazers. NHL, I've never really had a team. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I can watch the NHL and I have no rooting interest in any of the games. I can watch it a little bit more relaxed than I normally would any other sport. And I like that. I like being able to watch it without having that fan's perspective when it comes to hockey. But every single year this happens, at least for the past 5 years or so, probably 10 years, I always want to get into hockey. And I say that at the beginning of the season, and then all of a sudden, like the whole season goes by, and then by the time the Stanley Cup playoffs are around, I'm like, oh, I got to get back into this. Why haven't I been watching this all along? So what I always tell myself is I need to pick a team. I need to have a rooting interest in what's going on with a specific team, and that's going to help me kind of keep involved. But then I lose that factor of I don't have any rooting interest, and there's a few different teams that I've always kind of rooted for. Boston Bruins, just because of the New England Patriots connection. Chicago Blackhawks, because they have a Portland Winterhawks connection. That's the WHL team in Portland. Logo is exactly the same. And Portland got their first jerseys. They were hand-me-downs from the Chicago Blackhawks. Another team was the Las Vegas Golden Knights. One of the thoughts behind that is I am a new fan. Why not be a fan of a new team? They've only been around a couple of years. And the other team is the Washington Capitals, simply because Alexander Ovechkin, I think, is hilarious. I think the guy is an absolute riot. After they won that Stanley Cup a couple of years ago, I don't think that dude was sober for the entire summer, and it was awesome. It led to radio gold with some of the best stuff. But I still have not been able to lock in on any kind of one specific team. Benjamin, thank you, saying Golden Knights. I've thought about jumping on Reddit on like an NHL subreddit and just posing the question and having fans of the other teams give me their reasoning why I should be a fan of their team. So I haven't quite decided yet. I still keep leaning towards the Washington Capitals, man. I'm fully on that Washington Nationals bandwagon when it comes to baseball. They're a super exciting team to watch. I think it's hilarious that Bryce Harper goes and signs this gigantic contract with the Philadelphia Phillies, and now all of a sudden the Nationals can win in the playoffs. So that's kind of got me leaning towards the Capitals, but I'm thinking of doing the subreddit thing where I pose the question and see what kind of responses I can get. Tristan says bi-coastal personality. That's true. But I do have a reason why I'm a fan for each team. Really quick rundown. Obviously, I'm from Portland, Oregon, hence Portland Trailblazers. Oregon Ducks. I lived in Eugene, which is where the University of Oregon is at before. It was my first radio job, actually, was working in Eugene. So that's why I root for the Ducks. The Minnesota Twins, their AAA ball club used to be the Portland Beavers. When I was growing up, the AAA ball club that was located in Portland was the AAA ball club for the Minnesota Twins. And I was a huge Kirby Puckett fan. I mean, that guy was awesome. I have so much Kirby Puckett stuff sitting in a box at my mom's house. It's sickening almost. And then for the New England Patriots, my dad is a New England Patriots fan. He got to see Russ Francis play sports in high school in Oregon, and he was just in awe of how good this guy was. And Russ Francis ended up getting drafted by the New England Patriots. So that kind of caused my dad's allegiance to the Patriots. And when I was growing up, I never quite locked in on the Patriots. I didn't wait around until Brady was the quarterback. I was a fan long before that. But, you know, I was one of those fans that would kind of bounce around a little bit when I was younger. I was a big Walter Payton fan when I was a kid. So I was actually, Chicago Bears fan at one point. I was a huge Barry Sanders fan as well. But then it was in the 90s when I was, preteen and stuff like that, when I started to become a true Patriots fan. And what really sold it was Ben Coates, former tight end, because obviously, well, we share the same last name. And I still have my Ben Coates jersey. Oh man, how old would that thing be now? That thing would be almost 25 years old. And I still have it and I still rock it. You'll notice at the beginning intro that producer Dave had made up, you can actually see me wearing that. I think I wore it the Wednesday after the Patriots won the Super Bowl this past year, which was pretty cool. So anyway, I think that's what I'm going to do for my NHL team. I gotta figure something out here because I'm already missing out on a ton of fun hockey stuff. Second topic of today for the AfterBuzz. I've been addicted to Defunctland. This is something I brought up on last week's episode. And it's a whole YouTube channel that talks about theme parks, Disney, Universal, whatever it is. And there's a lot of different stuff that they have on kind of like Disneyland Shanghai or, Paris, stuff like that. And one of the things that YouTube is great at is it's like, hey, you like this video or you watch this video, why don't you check this out? And there was one that popped up today that it was the Disneyland Shanghai version of Pirates of the Caribbean. And I'm telling you, this thing is completely different than the version that we know. And I'm like, there's obviously some similarities because it's Pirates of the Caribbean. This one you can tell was built after the movies. It's solely based on the movies, but it looks awesome. And the weird thing is, I think it was Disney Tokyo isn't technically owned by Disneyland. It's owned by a separate company. Let me see here. Tristan says, any thought to a closer team? If you're referencing NHL, I thought about the Dallas Stars. Simply because that's, I live in Texas. That's a Texas team. I've thought about rooting for that for the NHL. And then I've got everything covered. I've got the West Coast with, my teams, the Blazers and the Ducks. I got the East Coast covered with the Patriots. I've got up north covered with the Twins. And then I would have down south covered with the Dallas Stars. So I'm giving that some serious consideration. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's Disneyland Tokyo. It's not even owned technically by Disney. It's owned by a separate company who leases the rights to use Disney characters in their park. It's the Oriental Land Company. And that's who it's operated by. And they own it. They just have the rights to use Mickey Mouse and all the Disney properties. And that's why you have vastly different things. If you've never seen the Tron roller coaster that they have, I can't remember exactly which overseas Disney park this is at. But dude, they got some really cool stuff. And I'm gonna look into putting a blog up here about this Shanghai version of Pirates of the Caribbean because it's cool. It's a lot different. You end up underwater at one point. You're not technically underwater, but it makes it look like you're underwater. And it's just a really, really cool setup that they have. So I'm going to get to working on that. If you're a fan of Disney, go fall in that black hole. Go jump onto YouTube and just start watching all of the different things that they have in Paris. Oh, and the even weirder thing is when it's Pirates of the Caribbean over in Shanghai, it's obviously not in English. So it's such a trip, but they still sing yo ho, Pirates Life for me, which was awesome. So anyway, so that was just briefly, I wanted to bring that up for you guys. And if you want, I'll put up a blog here at buzzadamshow.com shortly. Next topic here. I climbed Mount Cristo Rey over the weekend. The kid is going through Catechism. We'll tell Buzz I call it Cataclysm because he gets a kick out of that. The funny thing is, with Buzz's memory, is he forgets how we kind of poke fun at him sometimes. So like when I say Cataclysm, he thinks I'm seriously mispronouncing it and I'm saying it wrong when I'm actually just doing it because I know it kind of it gets under his skin and also gives him a laugh. Like this morning I did it in our pre-show meeting. I said I was talking about a topic and we need to flush it out. Well, it's flush it out, and every single time you know what, I might try to do this tomorrow on the air. So if you're watching this, listen to the show tomorrow morning, if I remember, or remind me. Just drop us a message at the Facebook page because it's guaranteed every single time he's going to correct me. He's going to immediately say something. Although I might not do it tomorrow because it might be too close to me doing it today. So down the road. But if I say we need to flush that out, he is immediately going to correct me, and he doesn't realize that I'm specifically doing that because I know that it bugs the ever-living crap out of him. But yeah, so I got to climb Mount Cristo Rey. The kid, she's going through Catechism, and it was one of those things that needed to be done. I don't know if it needed to be done, but it was a big group thing. I mean, I love the priest at our church. That guy is awesome. He was the one that married us. I think I've mentioned this on the AfterBuzz before. It really bugs my wife that he remembers me, but she thinks he doesn't remember her. Because, she's been going to the church that we go to since she was 11 years old. And she doesn't think that he remembers who she is. But there's times where he will run into her or like he'll see me and he's like, hey, hi, Brandon. Or like he'll say hi to me. And she just thinks that he doesn't know who the hell she is. I think he does. I just think she's blowing it out of proportion. But it's still pretty funny that goes on. But Mount Cristo Rey was pretty cool, man. That's a beefy hike. I'm not going to lie. Like I crashed on Saturday after doing that thing. We got there at I think it was about 8:30. We started the hike up at 9 o'clock. There was 4 stops on the way up. And then obviously the main stop on the top. So there was 5, had something to do with the rosary beads. Again, I'm not a religious guy. I'm not Catholic. I'm not Christian. I'm learning this stuff as we go. I do go to my wife's church because it's something that she wants. It's something she wants to do as a family. I have no problems going. I don't understand a word they're saying because Mass is in Spanish. But we got to the top, and then they did a separate Mass up there at the top of Mount Cristo Rey. It's a beautiful view up there, man. Oh, if you've never done it, I highly recommend doing it. It's really cool. And I made sure we made solid time coming back down there. I think we did it in 38 minutes is what I had it timed at. From the very top all the way to the bottom, it was about 38 minutes. And she was saying that she thought it was like a mile and a half, the actual hike that you do on Mount Cristo Rey. And I'm not 100% sure that would be correct. So if it took us 38 minutes to get down, that's going down. We were hoofing it. Like the kid was getting tired. It's not actually. It's more than that. It says here, according to hikingproject.com, it's 4.6 mile out and back. So that would be split that in half. You're talking about 2.3 miles from the bottom up to the top. So we were able to make it down in about 38 minutes. It was a cool trek, man. It was beautiful weather out that day. It was a little bit chilly. All you had to do was throw another extra jacket on. It was great. I highly recommend it for anybody. So when we were done, we got back home, and man, it was 8 minutes to go in Oklahoma versus Texas. And I was really excited because we made it back for some of that game, and I crapped out. I crashed so stinking hard for some strange reason. Um, for like I mean I didn't sleep really good last week, so it was a big advantage. I was able to just knock out for a nap, and my wife scared the crap out of me. She wasn't trying to. I'm asleep on the couch. I'm like this, and she was just gonna kind of do one of those things where she like comes in for a hug, and I guess like I opened my eyes and I saw her, and then I closed them, and then my brain was like warning. And all of a sudden, I like it startled the hell out of me. And she got a good laugh out of it. I think I peed a little. But yeah, it was apparently very hilarious for her that she scared the crap out of me. Tristan is saying in the Facebook chat, throw out quote, take it for granted. That would, oh man, that would get under his skin because we've done this on the air before for referencing misuse of terms or words. And it's something that we have done because it'll pop up in our prep every now and then of, hey, here's some common words or common phrases that are said incorrectly. And like one was supposedly. And if you remember that Friends episode where Chandler is talking about, oh, I broke up with the woman because she pronounced it supposedly when it's supposed to be supposedly. And that I know that's one thing, with Buzz, who's kind of a big time, uh, um, you know, I think he's an English lit major. I think that's what he got his degree in. He really hates it when people either mispronounce or misuse terms and or words. So anyway, did the old Cristo Rey thing, and then crapped out for a nap during the day, and then that night I went and did the Concordia Cemetery ghost tour, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Buzz for some reason chickened out. If you want to go check out the video that he had done beforehand, because he and Nico went out to our haunted house, the KLAQ haunted house, which was called Carnival, which a bunch of clowns and stuff like that. And Nico scares easily anyway. Over on the KLAQ YouTube channel, you can see the video that I did of scaring him. It started out, I wasn't even trying to scare him. I was just leaving it be, and like I just would be walking down the hallway. He would turn, and it would startle him. I wasn't trying to scare him, but for that video that I produced, I was specifically trying to, get an extra reaction out of him. Omar says the infamous "I could care less." That's one that bugs the hell out of me. It's "I couldn't care less" because then it means you truly could not care anymore. But if you say I could care less, it means it's a little bit important because there's still room for you to care down here. And that's one that definitely bothers me. But anyway, so they went out to Carnival. They got a great video of Nico getting scared at the haunted house. If you want to check that out, you can head on over to the Buzz Adams Morning Show website, the actual BuzzAdamsMorningShow.com. Or if you're watching this on a replay on YouTube, the video is right here on the YouTube channel. Yeah, so Ivan says, I couldn't care less. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Is that it's I couldn't care less, not I could care less. It's just the misuse of words and terms. So anyway, that night we went and did the ghost tour, and it's really cool, like history lesson and stuff like that for El Paso. And one of the fun things is they have these like ghost hunter apps. I honestly, they're all bogus. Like it's not reading anything, it's not picking up on anything. But one of the cool things that it does, and it adds to, I think it adds to the fun. Just suspend belief or disbelief for a little bit, I guess, and just go enjoy it and have some fun with it. Buzz was a complete party pooper because he showed up, he waited around for 20 minutes, and then when we were about ready to start the tour, he just left. And all of a sudden on Monday, when we were flipping him crap about that, all of a sudden it was my foot's hurting is why I had to leave, and my ankle was bothering me. He didn't say anything about that at the time. He just didn't want to do it. He's too lazy. But it's probably best for us because we were all able to enjoy it. It was myself, it was Joanna, it was Emily, and it was Michelle from the station. And I think it was more enjoyable that we were able to kind of do that without him being the party pooper. So we have these apps that we're kind of going around, and it will like pop up a word. It'll say a word like the ghosts are communicating with you. 99% of it all just really meant nothing. I mean, if you want to get into it, you could be freaked out by it. The one that creeped me out though was towards the end of the tour. They were talking about La Lechuza, the witch that can turn into an owl and mimic sounds. And as the lady's talking about how she can become an owl, and she generally will stay high up, and she goes like to the top of the trees and stuff like that. And as she's talking about that, I've got my phone out with the reader on it, and all of a sudden it comes up and says, "Find her." And that one was a little creepy. I mean, even though it's bogus, like that's the one thing too that for some reason a lot of people feel the need to be just a party pooper. Like especially when it comes to haunted houses, you always got that. The guy's like, "Oh, well, they're not going to scare me. I know it's fake." That's not the point. The point is to suspend this belief or disbelief, or I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. Just put that aside and just go enjoy the experience. Have fun. Half of the fun is getting scared and freaked out. But there's all these people, like, when we put these posts up about ghosts, oh, there's no such thing as ghosts, or, why are you scared when you know it's not real? You can go away now. Like, you're obnoxious. Like, you are literally the person that we don't like hanging out with and we don't want around because you're just a party pooper. Like, what is the point of what you're doing other than to be negative towards something that we're doing? And that's kind of what Buzz would have done had he been on the ghost tour. So I'm kind of glad that he ended up leaving, because I don't think it would have been as enjoyable. But we were able to kind of goof around, and it was funny because, Emily's got her app out and I got my app out, and Emily's getting a bunch of words from her. And I think at one point hers said follow or something like that. So she felt the ghost was following her. And so we're just kind of, and she's like, "Ghost," she's like, "Follow Brandon." And we're kind of goofing around with that stuff, which was pretty fun and entertaining for us. And you got to learn a lot of really cool stuff about El Paso. You talk about John Wesley Hardin, our tour, because they split it into two because the group was too big. So they split the tour into two. Ours ended at John Wesley Hardin's grave. And we got to learn a lot of cool stuff about him. The guy that actually killed him, we stopped at his grave as well before that. You find out that one of the reasons that there's the cage around John Wesley Hardin's grave at Concordia Cemetery is because back in the 90s, there's a group from Nixon, Texas, who felt they basically had the rights to John Wesley Hardin's body because he was once married to a woman from Nixon, Texas, if I'm remembering that story correctly. So they showed up with shovels and pickaxes because they were going to dig him up and take him back to Nixon, Texas. They did get stopped in time, but that's why you have the cage around his stuff. Now, the tombstone, we were also told that tombstone isn't real, it's not the original, because that tombstone has been stolen multiple times. You got to learn all about the death of John Wesley Hardin and the fact that it had to do with his wife, who had I can't remember exactly what it was that she had done, but she got arrested and she got put in jail. And generally, the fine would have been about 5 cents. But for some reason, she was charged $5. And it was, as I'm scrolling through here, I'm trying to find, Sutton was the guy's name. At least I believe it was. Yeah, so Sutton, he was one of the lawmen there. And John Wesley Hardin, when his wife got arrested, was out of town. When he got back into town, he met up with Sutton. He was like, "Hey, man, I don't like what you did with my wife. It was supposed to be 5 cents. It was $5. The next time I see you, I'm going to kill you." So it became this big beef, and all of a sudden, they're looking over each other's shoulders or whatever. And ultimately, John Wesley Hardin lost out. Sutton ended up killing him. But the biggest one of all, when it comes to the stories, had to do with that guy, Jack Earle. This is Jack Earle, the world's tallest man. He was billed at 8 foot 6.5 inches tall. And this is the story that we're going to wrap up this AfterBuzz with. And as our tour was ending, there is the Jewish section. I keep having problems saying that damn thing. Jewish section of the cemetery. You're not allowed in there at night, so we didn't get to go there. But you can go, I believe, visit his grave during the daytime. And that's where he is buried. And so he was listed at 8 feet, 6.5 inches tall. He was born in Denver, Colorado, but had a really interesting life where he, at age 13, he was already 7 feet tall. His father and him went out to Los Angeles. And as they went out there, he landed some acting roles. He was in 1923's Hansel and Gretel. He was in 1924's Jack and the Beanstalk. Obviously, he was the giant in that movie. And his movie career ended because what happened is some scaffolding fell on him and it broke his nose. So he ended up in the hospital. Now, when he was in the hospital, his vision started to blur and eventually he went completely blind. As they were taking x-rays and trying to figure out what was going on, they found out there was a tumor that was pushing on his pituitary gland, which was causing his blindness. He ended up getting it fixed. They ended up being able to solve the issue. His vision came back, but he was pretty much done with his acting career. So then he made his way to El Paso, Texas, where he graduated from UTEP. And the reason I'm putting that in quotes is because at this time it wasn't called UTEP. That didn't come until later. And then at one point, Ringling Brothers came through town, and they had what they thought was the world's tallest man. So, of course, Jack Earle showed up. And when he meets the world's tallest man, surprise, surprise, Jack Earle is taller than their version of the world's tallest man. So on the spot, Ringling Brothers offered him a contract. It was a 1-year deal to travel with the circus and to basically be the world's tallest man at that point. So he accepted that 1-year deal, ended up being about 15 years with Ringling Brothers. And after about 15 years is when he decided, okay, I need to start wrapping this thing up. I'm tired of being on the road. And as Buzz had mentioned on the morning show this morning, a lot of guys who reach heights like this have a lot of health issues. They have difficulty moving because the one that it's called for Jack Earle is he suffered from acromegalic gigantism, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And generally when it comes to that stuff, joints are bad and you have just a lot of issues where you're not able to function normally. But apparently Jack Earle was. Apparently he was an avid golfer, and he had a special set of golf clubs that were flipping huge so that, Jack Earle could golf and stuff. Ultimately, he ended up his life, El Paso, Texas, towards the end. He did pass away at the age of 46 years old, July 18th of 1952, and it was here in El Paso, Texas. He is buried in Concordia Cemetery. Like I said, if during the day you can go see him at night. I mean, the cemetery is closed anyway, but even during when these do these ghost tours, you're not allowed in there. But they also did say that he had they had to hire a New Jersey company to build a specific casket for him because obviously they couldn't use a normal sized casket for Jack Earle. And they also had to pay the gravedigger overtime because he's digging a plot that's basically, for two men. It's just, stacked on top of each other. So that is the story of Jack Earle. If you would like, you can find that full story up if you want to check it out for yourself or share it with other people or see other pictures than just this one. And by other pictures, I mean I do have one other picture that I was able to get access to and put up on our website. You can head on over to buzzadamshow.com. Tristan is saying that Buzz ghosted the tour. Yes, he totally did. Well played, Tristan. On that note, I'm going to wrap up this edition of the AfterBuzz really quickly. If you're watching this live here on Facebook, you are more than welcome to chime in on the Facebook chat if you have any questions, if you have any comments before we wrap up this show. Coming up, we got a lot of really fun Halloween stuff set up for the Buzz Adams Morning Show. We're going to do costume mashups. Again, if you aren't familiar with costume mashups, it's where you take a couple different costumes, a couple different characters, and then you mash them together. We describe what the costume looks like, and then the rest of the show has to guess exactly what you are. So we've got that coming up. I think we're going to bring back the mystery box because we have some pretty good ideas of some stuff to put in the mystery box live on the morning show. So hopefully we'll have that stuff coming up as well. But on that note, I appreciate everybody for being here. I'm trying, again, if you're just tuning in, I'm without producer Dave today, so I'm having to do everything by myself across the room on a computer that's like 6 feet away. But appreciate you showing up for this version of the AfterBuzz. It's now the second week we're over on Facebook. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it over here. Again, if you're watching this on a replay for over on YouTube, we do this live now over on Facebook at 10:30 Mountain Time, 11:30 Central Time, on the Buzz Adams Morning Show Facebook page, because this is where it can get a little bit confusing. Over on YouTube, it's the KLAQ YouTube channel. That's our flagship station, the one that's based in El Paso, Texas. But over on Facebook, it's the Buzz Adams Morning Show Facebook page, because if you aren't aware, we are in more cities than just El Paso. We're in San Angelo, Texas, and Abilene, Texas as well. So shout out to both Abilene and San Angelo. Thank you for showing up for this edition of the AfterBuzz. On that note, I'm going to go start typing up my Reddit question on who my NHL team should be, because I still don't have the slightest clue. But next week, 10:30 Mountain Time, 11:30 Central Time, right here on Facebook. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, 5 a.m. Mountain Time for the Buzz Adams Morning Show, which you can find right here on Facebook as well. If, let's say, you happen to be in Portland, Oregon, because I see some of my family and friends have popped in here, and you guys want to tune into the Buzz Adams Morning Show, we do broadcast live on Facebook as well. On that note, have yourselves a glorious Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow, bright and early. And I'm now realizing I didn't prep this properly because I'm not exactly sure how to stop this. I think I found the right button. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out.